Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spin Cycle Live. I am your host, Nathan Hale. It is a cold and snowy day out here where I am at today. I am snowed into my house. We got like 6 inches of snow last night, and the roads need some help. But that is not stopping me from giving you the sweet, sweet news that I know that we all need, especially in times like this. It's been an interesting day. It has been an interesting day. We have lots of stuff to talk about. It's one of those things. It's one of those news cycle days where I feel like not too terribly much has happened, but yet so much has happened. We had cabinet nominations get approved. We have so much to get into and so much to talk about. But how are you all doing? How are you all doing this fine day? If you're down south, you probably have some beautiful weather out. I wish I was down there with you, but I'm not. I'm stuck here in the Midwest. We just went through another snowstorm once again, mid-February. It's ruining everybody's life. I'm not a cold weather person at all. I am a warm-blooded or cold-blooded, whatever, warm-blooded, right? If you're warm-blooded, then you stay in the heat. If you're cold-blooded, then you're in the cold, right? That's how it works, right? I'm the type of blood that I like the heat and I like it to be warm outside. If it's under 50 degrees, I'm freezing my butt off. I got wrapped up. I look like an Eskimo out here. I got my hood all up. I got my face covered and everything. All you can see is my eyes, right? Walking around. I'm so cold. Got bundle up in the cold. Even once 40 out, still do it. But let's get right into it. We have so much to talk about and so little time to talk about it. All right. So first story of the day is, of course, I'm sure you've heard that Tulsi Gabbard has been approved as Director of National Intelligence. So today, Tulsi Gabbard, she got her vote, a 52-48 vote. Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky voted against her confirmation, which is no surprise to anybody, right? But good for her. So we're so happy for Tulsi. I'm glad that she's finally in there, and I'm sure that she will do a great job. And I look forward to what she provides the American people. We typically, I feel like, don't hear all that much about some of these other cabinet nominations, but I don't know if that's just because they're not doing really anything, or if the stuff they do just kind of goes unheard. But we're sure to keep you updated on Tulsi. I'm really glad she's in the cabinet. She was one of the reasons why I voted for Trump in the first place, because I wanted her somewhere in the administration. I respect her a lot as an individual, so we'll see how it goes. RFK is also moving on to a formal vote. So I misunderstood earlier today. I was under the impression that he had been approved, but I guess he hadn't. I guess the whole entire Senate voted on him, but then they're also going to vote again. I don't know how that works. Like, I swear, this is why we have government moves so slowly, right? Because let's recap. So we had a hearing in front of the House Finance Committee or something. He had one hearing, and then he have a second hearing from them too. And then they had to vote to get him out of the committee. And then today they voted to advance him to the Senate, but all the Senate voted on him. I mean, 53 senators voted to advance his nomination. So what happens between now and when he actually gets nominated? Because it says that the final vote is going to be on Thursday, which is tomorrow, as of right now. And I'm a little lost as to what is the whole point of, what's so special about the time between now and tomorrow that they have to vote on him all over again. Either way, he got 53 senators. It looks to be that he will get into the office. So good for RFK. We'll update you on Monday once he actually gets in, obviously, and we'll see how that goes. So I think that RFK will do a lot more, or will be a lot more in the mainstream than maybe Tulsi will be. But I'm definitely keeping an eye on him. So first big major story today is going to be if this page decides to load about the Russia-Ukrainian war. So apparently Donald Trump says that Russia has agrees to immediately begin negotiations to end the war in Ukraine. So President Donald Trump, so this is from Fox News, President Donald Trump said he had a lengthy call with Vladimir Putin on Wednesday, which included the Russian leader agreeing to immediately begin negotiations over the war in Ukraine. Quote, "We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations," Trump posted on Truth Social on Wednesday. That was today. "We have also agreed to have our respective teams start negotiations immediately and will begin by calling President Zelensky of Ukraine to inform him of the conversation, something which I will be doing right now. I have asked Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of CIA John Radcliffe, National Security Advisor Michael Walls, and Ambassador and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to lead the negotiations, which I feel strongly will be successful." So this is great. This is great. This is a war that has gone on, that has plagued the Biden administration for years now, and we're only the second month into Trump's presidency, and we're already talking about an end to all of this, right? This is great. This is great. We all knew that Trump was the president to end wars. That's exactly what's happening. We're seeing wars being ended in Gaza between Israel and Palestine. We're seeing wars being ended between Russia and Ukraine. This is great. Love to see it. So happy that we have a president like Donald J. Trump running the White House with an iron fist and saying, hey, this is where it's going to end. And hopefully that end benefits us and also causes more countries to contribute more fairly to when conflicts happen across the ocean, which leads us to our next story. Hegseth rules out NATO membership for Ukraine and says Europe must be responsible for country's security. Isn't Pete Hegseth like the best looking Secretary of Defense that we've ever had? I'm sorry, like I think the dude's a knockout. He's got like the American tie, the American flag, pocket square and everything. That's just an aside. I'm sorry. I just had to point that. I think it looks really good, that picture. Anyways. So this is from CNN Politics. So U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said on Wednesday that the war between Ukraine and Russia, quote, must end, and Kyiv joining NATO is unrealistic, and that the U.S. will no longer prioritize European and Ukrainian security as the Trump administration shifts its attention to securing the U.S.'s own borders and deterring war from China. Perfect example, right? We want to end wars. We want to make things better for our citizens. We have issues happening in the United States that we need to take care of. So glad to see it. The United States does not believe that NATO membership I skipped a paragraph. Sorry. Back up. In remarks before a meeting of the Ukrainian Defense Contract Group, Hegseth also said that European troops should be the primary force securing a post-war Ukraine, something U.S. troops will not be involved in, he added. The United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement, Hegseth said. And he added that any security guarantees offered by Ukraine are, quote, must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. To be clear, as part of any security guarantee, there will not be U.S. troops deployed to Ukraine, he said. This is great. This is great. The United States should not be getting involved in conflicts that are happening over the oceans when we don't have to be getting involved with them, right? I really could care less what happens between Ukraine and Russia. I only care about America here, guys. This is where I live. This is where I pay taxes, right? I'm a little isolationist to that extent. I think that the United States got out of being involved in Ukraine, the Ukraine-Russian war, as much as they could. We showed that we step up for our allies to an extent, right? But now is the time that other countries also need to step up, right? We contributed far more to that war than any other countries involved in terms of money and in terms of weaponry sent to Ukraine to defend themselves against Russia. We need to have a consensus, and other countries should be contributing, especially the ones over in Europe. If the United States is doing anything, we should be providing guidance, and we should be backing up the other countries that are actually sending in money and military aid to those countries and say, hey, if things really start getting bad, then we'll start to step up. But for right now, you all need to be the ones pushing military in there. People like Poland, people like the United Kingdom, people like Germany, all those countries should be the main focus of defending Europe, not the United States, right? We're on a whole separate continent here. So I think this is great. U.S. lives should not be lost over this tussle with Russia. And I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see that we have a defense secretary that's standing up to and standing on his grounds when it comes to these types of actions. All right. Quick show today. I've flown through these a lot faster than I thought I was going to. We're gonna have a quick show today. So next up, so Google removes Pride Month from calendar. What to know? So it's from Newsweek. So apparently this is some big story that's happening. I've been seeing all over Twitter, all over X, that this has been a big thing happening on the internet that I didn't know about, I guess. And I guess people, specifically the left, are really up in arms over Pride Month being moved from Google Calendar. So let's read what they have to say. So Google has removed Pride Month along with Black History Month and Holocaust Remembrance Day from Google Calendar. In an email from Google shared with Newsweek, the company called its previous calendar process, quote, unsustainable. Google Calendar will now show only public holidays and national observances. So according to Newsweek, why does this matter? Let's hear what they have to say. The move comes amid a broader cultural and political debate about the value of politics on diversity, equity, and inclusion. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to dismantle federal DEI programs upon his return to office on January 20th and ordered what he called the, quote, ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing. Since this order, multiple high-profile companies, including Meta, McDonald's, Walmart, Target, and Google have stepped back from their DEI goals. Critics have expressed fears about LGBTQ plus rights under the new administration, and in particular, concerns about the U.S. Supreme Court potentially overturning its landmark ruling that established a right to gay marriage. The sky is falling. The sky is falling, everyone. The sky is falling. First off, I think people so misconstrue what an executive order and executive action means in relation to private companies, right? Nothing that Trump signed is forcing Google to do any of this. This is all under their own free will. But yet people online are saying that, hey, Google's removing all these calendar things because we care so deeply about our days on the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it's not a real thing, right? We're removing these calendar dates, and that's bad because we're erasing those days in reality if they're not put on our calendars for us by our tech lizard overlords, right? To the people who are really concerned about having Pride Month taken off the calendar, I have a secret for you. You can add it back onto your calendar. It's like as easy as like tapping the button and putting in Pride Month. You can just do that. That's okay, right? Just means it's not going to be on there anymore by default. Add it back on yourself even, I don't care. Now, about the whole fear of LGBTQ rights, blah, 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 blah. First off, we're lumping in together the greater community again, and that's never going to end well. This whole notion, I haven't really covered it, but there's a case happening from Idaho that's attempting to overturn the marriage equality by the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that happened, 2015. I don't see that happening. Even if it does happen, gay marriage is still backed up through an act of Congress. So nothing would really change for people. Like worst comes to worst, it would go back down to the states. And it wouldn't be great, and I'd be very much against it, but it wouldn't be like the end of the world, guys. So, yeah, let's see what else we have to do. So what to know? What do we have to know? So the update was confirmed by a Google spokesperson to The Verge. which first reported the change. The spokesperson said that the calendar team had manually been adding what they described as, quote, a broader set of cultural moments in a wide number of countries around the world. The spokesperson said that maintaining this consistency on a global scale wasn't sustainable. Google donated $1 million to Donald Trump's 2025 inauguration, and its CEO was in attendance at the ceremony. So what events have been removed? So Pride Month, Black History Month, Indigenous Peoples Month, Hispanic History Month, Jewish Heritage Month, and Holocaust Remembrance Day. All right. So I'm all for things like Holocaust Remembrance Day. That was a terrible tragedy that happened across the world. But I think that taking the position of, hey, we're only going to recognize officially sanctioned days that are recognized by the U.S. government on our calendar, I think that's a great idea. So if you all are out there who are super pro Holocaust Remembrance Day, need to be on calendars, go and lobby your local politicians, I guess, to get it back on there. But otherwise, add it back on there yourself. I don't care. So, and besides, this is like one calendar app. I'm sure you can go download a slurry of other calendar apps out there will be on there also. This is just a story that I saw that people were making a huge mountain out of a molehill over for literally no reason. And I just kind of couldn't believe it. I was kind of like blown away. Like, you're so frail that you can't even comprehend having a day taken off a calendar. This is a big deal to you. Like, I don't know. It's just something I saw. It's just something I saw I want to talk about. So hopefully it was interesting to some of you. I think it was interesting to me. Let's talk about our last story. So the last story comes out of Texas. So it's from the Hill. So Texas GOP lawmakers introduced bills to display 10 commandments, read Bible in schools. So you might be like, but Nathan, didn't Texas already do this? Well, I think like a year or two ago, Texas was wanting to do this exact same thing and the bill failed. And I'm going to say the same thing that I did now for this one also. But let's see what the Hill says. So Republicans in the Texas Senate introduced a bill that would require the 10 commandments to be displayed in public schools and have time set aside in the day for students to read the Bible. The bill introduced by Senator Phil King would be similar to that passed in Louisiana last year. After Louisiana required all public schools and colleges display the 10 commandments in every classroom, Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick promised a similar bill would pass through the state Senate in the following legislative session. My God. The Texas Senate previously passed SB 1515, which would have required the 10 commandments to be hung in classrooms. It passed along partisan lines, with Democrats arguing it would be insulting to non-Christians. It didn't come to the floor of the House in 2023 as they ran out of time in the legislative session. After the success in Louisiana, Texas lawmakers vowed to try and pass the measure again. Quote, "The 10 Commandments is part of our Texas and American story," King said in a statement he reposted on the social platform X. Quote, "They are ingrained into what we are as a people, as a nation. Today, our students cry out for moral clarity, for the statement of right and wrong that they represent. If our students don't know the 10 Commandments, they will never understand the foundations of much of American history and law." Well, the Louisiana law was set to go in place January 1st. It's been stalled in the courts and could make its way to the Supreme Court, which previously examined having the 10 Commandments in schools in 1980, NBC News noted in its reporting. After the state's GOP governor signed the bill into law, it kickstarted a series of other conservative states looking to piggyback off the idea. Critics of the idea say there is becoming a concerned trend of mixing religion with taxpayer-funded schools in red states. The measure in Texas might stand better chance this year, as it was introduced much earlier in the legislative session than in 2023 and follows up on Louisiana's bill. President Trump celebrated the Louisiana law, saying online that he loves the 10 Commandments in public and private schools and, quote, other places for that matter. So I'm going to say the same thing that I said with this Louisiana law, which I was proven right about, was this is going to pass. It's going to get immediately hit with First Amendment claims. They're going to get their pants sued off because of this. The state of Texas is, just like the state of Louisiana is too. I think that the Supreme Court is going to rule that laws like this are not constitutional. We'll see how, excuse me, see how that goes. but I don't think they're going to rule this is constitutional. This is a clear First Amendment claim violation. I would honestly really be surprised if they said it was constitutional. It seems so blatantly obvious that it's a First Amendment violation, but that is that. The other thing that I will say, which is why I said before with all these other laws, is that conservatives better be careful when they're trying to pass these laws that allow religious texts to be hung up in classrooms, because what's going to happen next is religions that conservatives don't like are going to start wanting to do the exact same thing. Then they're going to say, well, if you did it for Christian religions like the Catholics and, you know, all of these others that worship the Bible, right? Why can't we do it for us, right? Wait until the church, the satanic temple shows up and wants to start putting their material into classrooms. You're not going to be so happy after that, right? And if all of this is upheld and allowed, then it's likely that that's going to happen too. I wouldn't be surprised. I would bet money on it happening at some point. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet in Louisiana. So, I mean, let's be so real. If I was a church that I believed in what I was preaching and everything, I would want to do the exact same thing. You know, if you're allowed to hang up the 10 Commandments in a classroom, why can't I hang up, you know, my religious texts and stuff in a classroom also? So it's a slippery slope. And I think you're opening up a bag of worms, Texas and Louisiana, that you don't want to open. Don't want to deal with that, right? And it worries me a little bit when conservatives are so quick to remove certain materials in classrooms that, you know, obviously agree with those materials being removed, but they're very quick to remove them when they don't agree with their ideology. They're very quick to also defend materials in classrooms that go along with their ideology that people disagree with, right? It's not a consistency thing for me. And when it ultimately goes down to it, no matter what it is, school should be about teaching the broader mass. And if you're someone who wants to have your kid in a classroom that has the 10 Commandments hung up, you should send your kid to a private school. It's just as simple as that. Or you should have a better presence at home when it comes to teaching them about stuff like this, so they don't need it at school. So I think that this is trying to fill in a gap that's being left by society. Do I think that the 10 Commandments are a good thing to have? Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people should know about them, even if you aren't a religious person. You should be following along with them. They're just good pieces of advice for that matter. But be hung up in a classroom, I think, is a bit of a stretch. But with that, folks, that is all that we have today. Very, very short day when it comes to the news cycle. Like I said, the big thing was Tulsi Gabbard getting in. Other than that, I looked at the stories. I didn't really see all that much that really interested me to talk about, to cover. So I hope you enjoyed the show today. I know that I did. If you have questions, comments, whatever, you know, give me a follow online. You can find this show on X, Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, all the places. I'm on TikTok too. Show clips are being posted on TikTok, as well as other short form content going up. If you want to hear more about my views, about my opinions and everything, go and follow me over on X. That's where I'm writing everything at for the most part. And yeah, follow me. Share the show with friends. Let people know how great the show is, how much you love getting your news from the guy right here, right? We give you the good stories here, right? I'm not stingy. I'm not stingy in the stories. I show you the good stuff. I show you what you need to know, right? So hope you enjoyed the show. But with that, I have been Nathan Hale. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and enjoy your weekend. I will see you back here on Monday. We'll have so many things to cover by then. An entire weekend of news stories going through. So Monday's always a big show for us. But we will see you back here on Monday. Same time, same place, 5 p.m. Eastern time, all the platforms. But with that, I've been Nathan Hale. I will see you in the next one. Peace out.